what I want to talk about next, and I don't like to brag, but I do. I live in a one-bedroom apartment, you know? Yeah, thank you. You know, things are going well. And I live on the second floor of a 3-story apartment building, right? And I've lived there for a number of years. And I come home one night after a show, and I go into my kitchen, which looks surprisingly a lot like this, you know? So I go there, and I hear this dripping sound behind the wall, you know? So I'm like, well, that's weird. And I've been there long enough, and it was early enough that I could text my landlord. And I said, hey, it sounds like there's a leak behind the wall. So he asked me to check all the things you would normally check, you know? The faucets and all that stuff. And so I text him back, and I go, I don't see any leaks anywhere. And he goes, okay, I'll contact the HOA. They'll come up the next day. And I like how you are all looking at me like, wow, this just turned into a weird timeshare thing that we have to sit through to get to Orlando. But well, we'll get there. Just stick with me, you know? So they send these 2 guys up the next day, Troy and Moses was the other guy's name, I swear. And so they go over to the wall, and they're like, wow, that is a really nice Comedy Works logo. No, that was a callback to that other joke. No, they come over and they listen, and they go, wow, it sounds like there's a leak behind the wall, you know? I was like, man, I want to work with you guys, you know? I figure out the problem, and then you come over and go, yep, that's what it is, you know? So then I felt like I was in a bad improv exercise. I'm like, what do you think we should do next, fellas? So this is where the 3rd story comes in. They go up into the 3rd story apartment, and they're up there for like 15 or 20 minutes, and the dripping sound stops, right? So they come back down, and they say, hey, what you were hearing was your upstairs neighbor's bathtub faucet dripping into the tub. And so I played along at first, you know, and I'm like, all right, thanks. And they left. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, is my hearing so good that I can hear a faucet dripping into a tub basin? And shouldn't I be hearing all kinds of other stuff going on up there then? And did he tell those people that I heard that? Because then they're freaked out, you know? They're like, that guy's got a weird eye, but he hears like a bat. So, you know, a couple of weeks go by, and then I hear the dripping sound again. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. So then right after that, my landlord calls, and he goes, hey, the apartment below you, there's water coming through the wall into his apartment. I go, that's weird. Do you think it had anything to do with that dripping sound I reported a couple of weeks ago? So now what they do is Troy comes up into my apartment, and the guy who owns the condo below me is named George, right? And they're doing all these tests. And people always ask, what happened to Moses? And I'm like, I don't know what happened to Moses. He goes, I'm not going to be in this joke anymore. And so anyway, Troy's upstairs. George is down in the bathroom, and they're running all these tests. He puts on the tub, and he leaks, you know, and they're talking for like, he's running in the tub for like 5 minutes. No leaks. Then he puts on the shower, you know. So I go, hey, Troy, you know, I'm no plumber, but I would be willing to bet $100 if the tub's not leaking, the shower's gonna be good too, you know. So I won $100 from Troy right there. So they do all these tests, you know, all the sinks, and they're on the phone back and forth. They can't find a leak anywhere, right? So now George comes up, and it's George and Troy and me all in my bathroom. Wow, all right. Well, you make up your own jokes, and then I'll tell you mine. But so George looks over at me, looks at me, and he says, hey, John, do you take a lot of baths? And I'm like, where are you going with this, George? 'Cause that seems weird. But his point was that I was taking baths and filling it up so much in the tub that it was overflowing in the overflow valve, you know? And the reason that I tell this big, long story is this, you guys, because I know you're all like, what the heck? But no, but here's the point of the whole thing. When I walked out here on stage, I'm sure you guys, you know, made a judgment about me. And I get that. I mean, I make judgments all the time about people, you know? And I get that. But what I'm saying is I would be willing to bet that $100 that I won from Troy that not one person in this audience tonight, when I walked out on this stage, said to themselves, I'll bet that guy takes a lot of baths. You know? Yeah. Thanks. Like I come home after a hard day, I'm like, man, what a day. Boom, bath bomb in the tub. Yeah. I'm going to fill it to the rim. It was me, George. How about that? It's crazy, man.